Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are talking about Blake Lively's most recent lie that she's been caught in and resulting SEO manipulation. So essentially media manipulation, but we're going to get deeper into that. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ashley Brianna Eve, and here we look at pop culture, power, and media manipulation. And my background is actually in branding and marketing. That's also what I do full time when I'm not on here with you guys or running my farm animal sanctuary or hanging out with my dogs. I am helping people with branding and marketing. So I can see strategic moves for media manipulation from a mile away. And when I saw Blake Lively make this statement on Instagram, I knew what was coming. Now, this is not the regular setup. If you're new here, we have construction workers downstairs. And so I am upstairs in a corner of my bedroom waiting for my next call, my next client call. I have about 20 minutes to be here with you guys. So it's going to be quick. It's just going to be to the point. Let's dive into what Blake Lively had to say. This was posted on her Instagram 13 hours ago. So we are looking at 10:05 a.m., February 27th, Eastern. About 13 hours ago, Blake Lively posted this. It had to have only been a few hours after Michelle had passed away. And if I'm talking low, it's because I have a sleeping puppy next to me and I don't want to wake him up. I value the moments when my new puppy is sleeping. All right. So Blake Lively said, "This is the first day I met Michelle. She was electricity. You knew when she entered a room because the vibration changed." I'm sure people know when you enter the room, Blake. Everything she did 200%. She laughed the fullest at someone's joke. She faced authority head on when she felt something was wrong. She cared deeply about her work. She was proud to be a part of this community and industry, as painful as it could be sometimes. She was fiercely loyal to her friends and brave for those she loved. She was big and bold, distinctly herself, and she always had yummy caramel smelling lip gloss on because she didn't just want to sparkle on camera. She liked creating a nice experience for anyone who was in her orbit, even down to the subtle smell of her lip gloss because she cared about the sweet details. She was a kind person through and through. Time passes, you take for granted that you can get the chance to see an old friend. To paraphrase, the real tragedies in life are the ones that blindside you on an idle Tuesday. And I have to say, guys, I don't disagree with that. If you've been a member of the channel, we recently got my husky through an ICU critical care stay. And when he came home, I realized how much I actually missed out on because I'd always be working on client calls or client branding packages, or I was just always busy and working. And we tragically lost him a week after he came home from ICU very suddenly. And, it's just one of many losses I've gone through in my life, both human and animal. And so I don't disagree. I believe that tragedy and loss does often stop us in our tracks to have us reassess our life, reassess our priorities. It doesn't always last. Typically, it doesn't, right? For most people, it's, maybe a week, maybe a month, and then you get back into your old habits. But absolutely, I do agree with Blake here that it does make us take a moment and pause of when you get blindsided by loss and tragedy, where your priorities are. So I do agree with her on that. And this gives me like this, it's about her. And she's putting these Easter eggs, right? Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Taylor Swift are famous for these Easter eggs. So she's putting these Easter eggs in here. She faced authority head on when she felt something was wrong. Was that necessary to put in there? And also, it sounds like if you are a listener of Daily Dose of Donna, I love Daily Dose of Donna. Also have to say it like that because she says it like that. And so it's just in my head, I can hear her say her show's name. Anyway, she is lovely. And, it turns out that she had a friend of Michelle's reach out to her. And we're going to play her reel over on Instagram. And it turns out that Blake and Michelle weren't even friends because Michelle was not appreciative of how Blake would always be late to set. So, do you know she speaks out when she thinks things are wrong because she confronted you, maybe, Blake? Like maybe that's what happened. However, that piece for me is just like a Easter egg for the "It Ends With Us" lawsuit. It's an Easter egg for everyone that she knows is going to watch this story. And it's just so tragic, and I can't believe she did this. Well, I should be able to believe it. She's tying herself and Michelle, right? Like, we speak out. Now, Michelle did speak out. Michelle did speak out on something to do with Joss Whedon from the set of Buffy. She had mentioned at one point that he wasn't allowed to be in the room alone with her. So she did over the years say some things that were controversial in terms of um, things that had happened to her, right? So Michelle is someone that has spoken out, but to bring that up here, it's just not appropriate. And it seems like just an Easter egg for your case, Blake. Now, she also talks about the Yummy had to make an appearance here. Sparkle had to make an appearance here, right? Both of those words are words that Blake, sorry if you guys can hear the construction. I don't have a mic up here. We're just raw dogging it, guys. We're just raw dogging it in a corner of my bedroom. We're rolling with it. I wanted to get this out for you guys. So she's mentioning yummy. She's mentioning sparkle. Those are words we saw over and over and over again in the filings when Justin started to release all the text messages. Something else that I thought was really interesting, and I am imagining it's an Easter egg, but I don't know how it works in her favor. But this idea of Michelle wanted to smell good for those around her, it's very bizarre because if we think back to that dance scene that was released, well, it turns out that Blake had made a comment of the smell of her body makeup or her spray tan, and Justin Baldoni said, "No, it's fine. Like you smell good, it's fine." Right? Blake had originally twisted that to make it seem really insidious and sh and inappropriate, but it turns out that he was just responding and trying to reassure her that no, you're fine. So it's just interesting. It's one of those things where I personally think it's an Easter egg, but how that actually works for her, I don't know, because now you're smelling people on set and saying they smell good, but it's not okay if Justin does it. It's just bizarre. However, when I saw this, I knew as soon as I woke up this morning, which was very early because the puppy decided he was going to be up at 5 a.m. We are in the phase where he just doesn't sleep. He just plays 24/7. So it was very early, but I started to check Google and I want to show you something. So let's check out how SEO manipulation works. Now, next week in the deep dive I'm doing into Taylor Swift, what you're going to see is that Taylor is actually very famous for SEO manipulation. This is not just a Taylor thing or a Blake thing, though. Disney's been accused of doing it, like different large celebrities. It's a PR tactic, right? You have an opportunity to latch yourself onto good news or something positive, and it pushes the bad news down the news feed. So if you Google today Blake Lively, so you can see I did that, Googled Blake Lively, and if you go to all, first of all, if you scroll down, top stories are Blake Lively and Michelle. If you go under news, yes, there is still the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal battle continues, but look what's been pushed to the top. This is a perfect example of SEO manipulation, and essentially it's media manipulation, which I always find so interesting because celebrities leverage this. But if you, as a normal person, and this is kind of a loophole they can get around, but if I'm working with a client, we're doing a branding package or I'm creating maybe copywriting for them, one way that Google, for example, will ding you and penalize you is if you take, let's say, the exact same blog. You do the exact same blog and you do the same title on both, and you put that blog over on your website and you put it over on LinkedIn as an article. If Google recognizes those two identical pieces of content, you get pushed down the algorithm because it's seen as SEO manipulation. It's seen as trying to manipulate the algorithm. It's seen as trying to manipulate the search engine because you're trying to push all of your content to the top, even though it's duplicated. So celebrities have found this way to use a loophole to that where they latch onto a positive story or something that could be seen as positive for the client, and then this is what happens. So again, if you go to all trending stories, top stories are all her and Michelle, and under news, like you have to scroll down. It's still there, of course, but you have to scroll down a bit, which is actually interesting because the first one that's not attached to a subheading is the "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear" campaign. Interesting. But anyway, if we look at the top thing that comes up, it's Blake Lively pays tribute to Gossip Girl co-star. And this is SEO manipulation at its finest because this was not yesterday. It was not positive press if you just Googled straight Blake Lively. And the other interesting thing that you can often tell with SEO manipulation or a PR tactic being pushed is it's very similar headlines. like very similar headlines and a lot of the similar pictures that are being used. Like Blake's in this pink dress in so many of the pictures. So, this is one way that you can really tell that it's not organic. And another way you can really tell that it's not organic is anyone else that has spoken up at this point in time. That'll likely change. But as far as the news cycle for the morning of Thursday, February 27th, anyone else that's spoken out and shown support for Michelle is in an article with Blake leading the article. So Blake is still leading the article. And what I mean by that is look at here, The Independent. This is a great example. One of the first articles. Michelle Trachtenberg death. Sarah Michelle Gellar. They effing switched it. Did you see that? Oh, whoops the daisy, The Independent. Because when did I just saw it on Instagram. Oh, well, we are breaking news that The Independent has pulled shady shit. They changed the headline, which I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar deserves it more. I love Sarah. 41 minutes ago, Sarah Michelle Gellar posted this on Instagram. Let's see if it'll still show the old one if we go back. Do you see that? The article was originally titled Michelle Trachtenberg Death Updates, Blake Lively, Rosie O'Donnell Lead Tributes. But if you click on it now, Michelle Trachtenberg Death, Sarah Michelle Gellar pays tribute to Buffy co-star. And then Blake Lively's next. I don't know what 1512 GMT is, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's interesting. And Rosie O'Donnell isn't in the headline anymore. So there you go. We've broken news. The Independent. Did they make a note? Aren't you supposed to make a note? Wow. Interesting. Anyway, I don't see any kind of note around it. But you saw it here first. You saw it here first. Share with your friends. The Independent changed, but you can see my original point, which was Blake Lively was leading. So if there were more people in the headline, Blake Lively was taking the top spot and people were mentioned after her. The audacity if they tried to put Sarah Michelle Gellar after Blake Lively, the audacity. All right, I just have a couple more minutes before I have to jump on a call. I'm going to make a reel on this, but tag people, share people. We caught them pulling this crap in real time because that's just 41 minutes ago. Sarah had made that post. One more thing I want to show you guys is Daily Dose of Donna and Donna Bowling. She is wonderful. I absolutely love her. But let's just see what she said over on Instagram. All right, we're going to hang out with Donna for a few minutes and then I'm going to have a client call. So I have to keep this short, but let's see what Donna has to say. And this is about a friend that reached out to her to let her know that they actually aren't friends. And if you do go to Michelle's Instagram page, I have a reel on this with pictures of it. Michelle was not following Blake Lively. She was following Leighton Meester. So that's just an example of it's not like she was separated herself from the Gossip Girl crew. Just seems to be Blake Lively. Well, maybe not just, but you know what I mean.
Just revisionist history. This time, it's not even about Justin Baldoni. It's not about It Ends With Us. It's actually about her friend, and co-star Michelle Trachtenberg, who sadly passed away today at the age of 39 years old. This was a shock to so many people. It was reported this morning all over the news that Michelle Trachtenberg had a cardiac arrest. Apparently, there was a liver transplant that went wrong. 39 years old, was found in New York City by her mom. I mean, devastating. And I loved Michelle Trachtenberg, but she had co-starred with Blake Lively on Gossip Girl as George.
And so if you are a millennial, an older millennial, I feel as though we grew up with Michelle as well. I'm just going to pause here for a moment. And I'm the exact same age as Michelle. I remember her back on Buffy, and she got so much hate back then for the role. I thought she did a fantastic job. But for my age group and cohort, I think all of us remember her as Dawn in Buffy. Sarah Michelle Gellar's post, I'll see if I have the time to pull it up quick for you guys, was so touching. She used a quote in from Buffy when Buffy sacrifices herself to save Dawn. It's going to choke me up. She used a quote from that and turned it around a little bit to honor Michelle. Oh my God, now I'm going to cry. But a lot of us know her from Buffy. That's where she was the Ice Princess, right? Gossip Girl.
Georgina, one of her best roles. And it didn't take long for Blake Lively, who has not posted on her social media, on Instagram or on, her stories or on her feed in months, weeks, at least, definitely many weeks, at least a month, for her to take a moment to post this. It's very small, but I'll read it for you. It says, "This is the first day I met Michelle. She was electricity. You knew when."
Okay, we can let this run for a second. We don't need to hear Blake's words again. But, the interesting thing for me again is I feel this was a calculated PR tactic from the beginning. And SEO manipulation is technically not something you're supposed to do. Like I said, if you or me even did like the exact same article on our website blog as a LinkedIn article, we would be dinged and kind of punished by Google. But this is a loophole that celebrities use.
To see an old friend. To paraphrase the real tragedies in life are the ones that blindside you on an idle Tuesday. Hold those you love. Have loved dear and loved dear. The world lost a deeply sensitive and good person. And Michelle, may our work and her huge heart be remembered by those who are lucky enough, et cetera, et cetera. It's a sweet message. And it really,
I love Donna. I think it's just like, it could be seen as sweet until you start pulling it apart.
Would be incredibly kind if there was a genuine relationship between Blake and Michelle Trachtenberg. But the second that she posted this, and I hate to do this, but the second she posted this, I thought, this just seems fishy. Blake has not said a word on Instagram. She hasn't posted anything positive, negative about anyone. And then she takes a moment to post this. So what was her relationship with Michelle Trachtenberg? Obviously, they were co-stars, but
and this is interesting because this is where we get into her friend or a friend of Michelle's that reaches out to Donna.
She followed multiple people on Instagram, didn't follow Blake. She didn't say a word about Blake during the It Ends With Us drama at the very beginning, even as late as December when all of this came out. In fact, that was an article that came out that someone even, kind of bugged her about it. And she was like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm dealing with real world problems. So she didn't take it seriously.
And that's another interesting point as well. And I believe you can still see that on Michelle's Instagram page, a comment where someone asked her about it. And she said, I'm dealing with real world issues. So she obviously wasn't taking it serious what Blake Lively was going through.
I'm going to keep the source anonymous, but this was someone in Michelle's life. It says, the audacity. I knew she was going to post something acting like they were friends. Michelle couldn't stand Blake. I said, oh my God, what do you know? She said, nothing too crazy. It was just that Michelle was a real actor who had been acting for a long time, and she couldn't stand the way Blake didn't respect any part of it, especially other people's time, and the fact that she was always holding up set.
Which is also interesting because I do wonder if Blake is saying that Michelle would always speak out if she didn't agree with something. I do wonder if Michelle had approached Blake and maybe that was also the tension between them. I don't know. That's all speculation, but I just want to make sure I got this out for you guys. I do have to run. I do actually, let's just show Sarah Michelle Gellar's post quick. So this is Sarah's post and she has the quote from Buffy, which is turned a little bit to fit the situation here. And she has a little key. So if you are a Buffy fan, you know what Dawn was the key. Michelle, listen to me. I love you. I will always love you. The hardest thing in this world is to live in it. I will be brave. I'm going to start crying. I will live for you. I'm not an emotional person, but this is just, and it's funny because as a Buffy fan, whenever I go through hard times, I think of that quote from Buffy of the hardest thing in this world is to live in it. Because life can just be so fucking hard sometimes. But anyway, I've got to run. I've got to get on a client call. I love you guys and I will see you. I'll see you in the next one. I'm sure there will be more. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.